Hello and welcome to Strange Stories. It's great to have you here. We are all about sharing stories of near-death experiences from around the world in the hopes of bringing some light and inspiration to your day. Our daily videos offer a glimpse into what lies beyond this life, and we believe that they can help us all appreciate the gift of life a little bit more. If you enjoy our content, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell to stay up to date on all of our latest videos. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to grow. And to our returning viewers, welcome back. We're thrilled to have you with us again. So go ahead, grab a cozy blanket, get comfy, and join us for today's incredible near-death experience story.
Sweating jolted me awake. I could hear my mother calling, but I couldn't react. I didn't stay up late the night before or do anything else to exhaust myself. I was simply unable to move. Because I had to get up for school, I closed my eyes once more in the expectation that the sleep would come to an end. When I heard my mother's voice again, I opened my eyes. As far as I could tell, she'd left the light on for me. I wanted to get ready for school and get out of bed, but I couldn't. I was well aware that there was a severe issue. Although I knew I should be terrified, my voice wouldn't cooperate as I tried to shout for help moving. I also convinced myself I needed to contact for assistance. When someone knocked, I heard my mother open the door for them. I wondered whether someone was coming to help me. I closed my eyes once more. I reopened my eyes and realized I needed to move soon since I was falling asleep again. I needed to catch my mother's eye. I could hear her talking to a neighbor, so I knew she couldn't help me out. I moved my arms with all the force and concentration I could muster. As they landed on my chest, I felt my eyes begin to close once more. When I failed to fight it, my eyes closed once again. When I opened my eyes again, I realized I only had a short time to seek help. I heard my mother's voice again. My sister's voice from the other room down the hall drowned out my lame response. I could feel my inner self on fire. When I realized I needed aid, I tried to lift my arms again, but this time I threw them away by using all of my strength. After getting out of bed, I rolled a short distance. I closed my eyes again, reopened them, and dragged the rest of my body after me as I crawled about a foot. I became dizzy and observed the darkness. I was starting to feel scared, but I knew that if I let panic take over, I'd die on the bedroom floor. After a little more darkness, struggling and hauling myself up a few more feet, I needed to relax. My arms felt like they were about to bulge with gelatin, and my neck felt like it was on fire, so I knew I didn't have much more strength. I was conscious that my life was coming to an end. I let my horror wash over me before pulling myself out into the corridor. I tried to call for help, but I had reached my physical limit. I was thinking about my next move when, with one final burst of energy, I crashed into a wall and yelled, "Mom!" once. Because everyone sounded the same, I was asking what was wrong. I could hear someone and people fleeing through the house. I closed my eyes. I was in an ambulance when I became conscious, and I can still hear the piercing siren and the company of those who helped me feel a little better. After all, I made it. When I opened my eyes, I saw someone clinging onto me with a sad expression on their face. I was well aware of how terribly I was doing. I wished I could feel my legs and arms now that I could. My entire body was on fire, like if I were in the middle of a heat wave, and I could feel the heat radiating off of me. The pain in my arms, legs, neck, and back was excruciating, but I could feel the heat leaving my body. I wanted to tell everyone that I was in tremendous pain, but the delicious sleep won out. I was cognizant again, despite my inability to open my eyes. Despite the fact that the pain had returned, I was aware that the ambulance had left. I prayed the pain would end. After a hand opened my eye and shone a light inside of it, I could feel pain moving from my eye into my brain, but I was powerless to stop it. I nodded off again until I felt numerous hands on me. I was being moved from the gurney to a bed. When I was able to open my eyes, I noticed that there were many individuals inside with me. They all appeared to be concentrated. As a needle was placed into my spine, I closed my eyes again, wondering what was wrong with me and why I was being held in a coital position. I awoke the next morning to see me being reinserted into an ambulance. I could see my father's face. He arrived. I felt terrible for him because he appeared to be in pain. When I learned that my father had been told to follow the ambulance, I prayed he was okay. Before closing my eyes again, I wondered why I was being relocated to a different location. I was being probed and pushed when I awoke. This time, I was at a different hospital. My head was inclined on its side as I opened my eyes, as if I were dozing. I noticed my mom staring at me. In hushed tones, I inquired, "Am I going to die, Mommy?" After looking at me, she assured me that I would be all right. While I was in that coital posture, the needle was placed into my spine again, but this time there was no pain. I noticed the doctor examining the fluid tube he had just removed from my body. It was a brownish color with microscopic flecks that turned out to be blood. I blacked out again after he frantically muttered something. When I was transported to a room with a large bathtub while still unconscious, ice was spread all around me. The ice would instantaneously melt as it came into contact with me. I had a temperature of 114 degrees. I'm not sure how long I was there, but the doctor informed my parents that I needed to be isolated. My eyes refused to open, and I was once again powerless to move. Despite the fact that I could hear everything around me, I felt as if I were listening to a radio show. Then I drifted into that never-ending sleep. The next thing I knew, I was in a coma. I could hear people chatting, but I couldn't comprehend much of what they were saying because they all seemed to be speaking a different language to me. That struck me as odd. My mother could be heard conversing with me about baseball. She likened what was happening to me to a baseball game. Because I was one of the players, I had to hit the ball out of the park to win the game. I tried to pay attention to everything she said, but it was impossible for me to do so for very long. I could still hear my parents conversing with the doctor later. I had a baseball-sized blood clot growing behind my heart that needed to be removed or I would die. He told my parents that while there was a very low chance I would or could survive the treatment, there was no other option. They intended to insert a catheter through my leg to reach the blockage behind my heart. Despite the fact that I was still in a coma and couldn't move or speak, I could occasionally hear what was going on around me. Before I passed out again, I didn't hear the rest of what he had to do. When they inserted the tube in me, I was just starting to wake up and the surgery was still going on. As a result, I was aware of it. It was something I was aware of. They couldn't give me any form of anesthetic because I was already comatose. I slipped into the darkness after hearing someone cry, "He's flatlining." I didn't spend much time alone in the dark. Even though I was moving, I was aware that the thing had vanished off the table. There were thousands of various hues in front of me. I looked to be watching the northern lights. Then, as if sensing my presence, one of the colorful rainbows charged directly at me and hoisted me up. I could feel myself traveling along the rainbow as if it were a real surface, similar to riding an escalator while sitting down. I was observing the colors as I traveled along the rainbow when one of them suddenly hit me like a tsunami. As the hues of pure passion continued to assault me, I was abruptly overtaken with an emotion that was the only emotion I could feel. Another swiftly took its place. I felt undiluted wrath, unwavering love, envy, terror, delight, and other emotions I can't pinpoint. That emotion filled me totally until another poured into and through me. I was blending into the rainbow. I was aware that I was dead, but I had no notion what to do. As I looked beyond the one I was on, I observed more rainbows. I wondered whether anyone else was utilizing the other ones. I could feel the colors and emotions they were imposing on me starting to dissipate. I eventually came to a halt that looked like a dock. I rose to my feet and walked away from the rainbow. I appeared to be in a drab, cloudy area. It had the appearance of a cave. I felt better when I noticed a figure approaching me. My late uncle was the one in question. As I stood in front of him, he told me I wasn't in the correct spot. When I looked around, I saw a brilliant light off to my right and in the distance. "Yes, it is heaven," he said with a gesture in my direction. As I turned to face him, he extended his massive hand to me. When I took it, I was able to envision things and my mind was flooded with information. In an instant, I was taking the blankets from my head. When I returned to the hospital, I found myself surrounded by other deceased patients waiting to be brought to the mortuary. I was all right when I opened my eyes. After hearing a spine-tingling scream, I saw a nurse leave the room. A few minutes later, several people returned to the area. After being proclaimed dead, I realized that I'd been in that state for 32 minutes. In addition, I discovered that 14 of my classmates had spinal meningitis. Only I made it through the illness. I was number 14. My body was examined for the ailment, but it was not found. I was asked to stay in the hospital for another 2 weeks for studies to determine what had happened and why I was still alive. Throughout the procedure, they checked my range of motion, collected blood samples, took x-rays, and asked me numerous questions. I wasn't questioned about my afterlife experiences. I kept it hidden because no one appeared to care about anything other than why I was still alive. The doctor informed me on the day I was to leave that I would go down in medical history. When I left, I felt fantastic. When I returned, I noticed that all of the information my uncle had given me was slowly fading. I knew it was only a matter of time before all of the information was lost. I began to notice weird happenings soon after leaving the hospital. The light would go out if I got too close to it. If I came too close to a TV or radio, it would change channels. Not only are there house lights, but also street lights. They would flip out when I got too close to other electrical gadgets. Then, it vanished as well. The encounter provided me with a gift. I learned that I had improved by a few points after taking a second IQ test. My IQ test result was 175 points. However, it did not appear that I'd picked up the knowledge, for lack of a better term. It appeared as if I'd been programmed with it. Because I lacked the experience that comes with possessing something your entire life, I didn't know how to use it to its greatest potential. Something fundamental, I believe, is lacking. Since I declined to follow my uncle's advice, I've been told over and again that I'm a miracle with a purpose or something I'm going to do. There's no doubt that a miracle occurred, but I've yet to learn why.